Well, hello there again on this lovely Monday evening, almost twilight. It's not quite dusk. I don't know, it's getting kind of dark out there. Looking over in that direction. There's another window over there. Um, Beside the point, I hope you are doing lovely today. Rose is crying. Don't worry, she does that from time to time. Um, but yes, what to talk about today? Let's let's take let's think of this one. Um, it's gonna sound a little silly, just kind of on its own, but standing in line culture. And I don't really mean like standing in line at the grocery store type culture, though that could be like a subgenre of this kind of conversation. But my wife Heather has been looking to get a new graphics card. For those who don't know, supply is rough. This year in particular, it's usually kind of bad with people who are building their own computers, people who want to just get GPUs to use with their own builds, especially right after launches. But this year is particularly bad or difficult to get your hands on something like that, just because the supplies needed to build them are hard to come by. They're just not coming out of the countries where they would normally get those resources from as quickly. So it's been kind of fun from the outside at least, seeing somebody trying to get something they really want, and having kind of a difficult time with that, and just sort of seeing everybody kind of going through that same struggle. But like, she had been doing a lot of just keeping an eye on things online, but on Friday was the first time that she was like, oh, our nearby Micro Center has stock in not the exact GPU that she's looking for, but one that she'd be willing to get, and decides to go stake it out. Go see what it's like over there. Which point she gets in line. We're texting this whole time, so like at least have some idea of like who's all, like, how, not who's all there, like we'll know who's everyone who's standing in line for a GPU at a Micro Center. But there were a sizable amount of people there, and as time got closer and closer to opening, more and more people were there, and like I'm just getting really stark memories of doing the same thing for those guys up there. Those amiibos, a lot of those, like, I don't really miss like that kind of standing in line culture. Like, parts of it are okay. I've done it for a few things. The amiibo ones were probably the lowest stakes one. There was some supply issues with just having enough of the product, but like if you were there an hour in advance, chances are you were getting one. But that's still a long time to just get there and wait. Thankfully, when I was doing that, I had a handful of friends who were wanting those amiibo as well. I think 3 of us were trying to collect that full initial Smash Brothers set. That's where most of those are from, by the way. But we would get to places that have these. Sorry if you hear some scraping in the background. Heather's putting her new GPU in there. Spoiler, she did get one today. Not the one she was expecting. She got something better. Not for a better price. Just a better GPU. But she's happy. She doesn't have to think about it anymore. But it was okay having just a few people who were going to be there with you, and you knew that it's like, okay, I can at least talk to people and have like a conversation going up to that point. What was nice about our little retinue there was that even if we did all get there earlier, we'd all wait for everybody, so that we'd just show up and like stand in line together. That way it's not like somebody was way ahead and it was just awkward and we couldn't really talk to each other. We were pretty good about like sticking around unless somebody said that they were just going to be super late and won't be there. But we needed to do that because all these stores were just getting like exclusive amiibo. So like I don't remember all of them, so I'm just gonna be making stuff up. But it's like you have to go to Toys R Us for Rosalina, or you have to go to Target for Jigglypuff. Maybe those are accurate. I don't know. I can't quite recall. But like those ones were ones where there was going to be limited supply anyways, and you have to go to a specific store to get them. So you'd go wait in line. And thankfully, like I said, there's a few people that you can talk to, but everyone's kind of there together doing that thing. They're all like as invested as you, especially the people who get there around the time that you do. There's going to be people who stop by like as the store opens just to be like, I don't mind if I get one or not. Those are kind of the back of the line folks. They're going to show up and see. It's like, well, I kind of want one. I'm not like that invested in it, but like I kind of want to be there. Those are probably going to be your complainer types. Like the line's so long, or why is it so cold there? And then you have like the middle of the line folks, the people who are there that aren't like camping out overnight per se. Though I do have a story to share about that later. They're the people who are like, I'm going to show up between an hour and 2 hours before the store opens generally. And these people they're pretty invested. And they're probably the most fun to talk to just because they're like not like hyper into whatever's in there, but they're invested enough to kind of listen in on the people at the front of the line and listen in on the people at the back of the line. And you kind of get to talk with each other about, it's like not just the thing that you're there for, but also the state of being there. It's kind of a fun little space in the line to be. So you're kind of having meta conversations about, isn't it kind of weird that we're all here and oh my goodness, it's just kind of cold, but it's like totally worth it. And you might have a little bit of that balance, like with like just reminiscing about the thing that you're waiting in line for, or remembering other times that you were waiting in line to do that. You have that kind of meta commentary there. Where at the front of the line, those are your diehards. Those are the people who, chances are, at least one of them has been there since the night before. They have their fort set up, a bunch of blankets, a chair. They might have somebody running to the local Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks to go grab them some coffee or donuts. And the reason I know this, I did that once. I did it twice. One of them was stupid. One of them was for Buffalo Wild Wings coupons for a year. One of them was you can get free wings for a year. They were just opening up a Buffalo Wild Wings in the city where I went to school, Macomb, Illinois. It's in the middle of nowhere. That's just where Western Illinois University is. And they opened up a Buffalo Wild Wings, and it was just like the biggest thing that happened there. And I had just won a tent in like a cafeteria raffle. And a couple of my friends were just like, do you want to use that tent and camp outside of the Buffalo Wild Wings on the night before it opens? So we did. And it was horrible. It was really cold. It was just like super duper cold. And that's like one of those times where it's like we're there and we're one of the first in line, but not out of like an extreme investment in that franchise. I don't think any of us really cared too much. It was free food. We're college kids. That was the driving factor. And it wasn't even like you get like as many wings as you want. You get one coupon that you can use per day for a year. So you get a book of 365 coupons that let you get 5 free wings. I think it was 5 free wings. So if you could drive out there, most of us didn't have cars. So take the bus out there to go get your 5 free wings for the day. That wasn't happening. You couldn't like use them all like at the end of a week or something. It was kind of a lame kind of way to do that. But boy, were we happy when we were among those first few into the door to get that book of coupons. Have some pictures of people just wanting their stuff. But like the other one, that was probably the more legitimate one. Like it wasn't me being roped in by friends being like, hey, you just won a tent. This was after the tent though. So after getting that tent, when I was coming home for probably the holidays or for like a spring break time. So it's still cold in the Midwest, United States. And I brought the tent home, and these friends of mine, most of them who were collecting the amiibo with me, were like, let's camp out for the Wii, the Nintendo Wii. And that's something like all of us could get behind. So we're all not at the front of the line. There's like a couple people in chairs, but we like show up and we have like a ton of blankets and sleeping bags and backpacks and a tent. And we literally pitch a tent right outside of a Target. And no one bats an eye at that. Interesting kind of culture. That's where I came up. I don't know if I came up with the word or the phrase, but like everyone kind of talks about, like you usually use a tent for camping, and I didn't see that as particularly different. It's just we weren't in a forest setting or a woodland or out in any particular like pristine quote unquote nature. We're in a human-made one. We're in a human-made wasteland. We're outside of a Target. We're urban camping, is how I always describe that, or the phrase I ascribe to what we were doing that night. And we just all jump in the tent, and like most of us were percussionists, so we just break out drum pads and just, or practice pads and just practice like different rudiments and things that we were working on at the time for our various drum lines. And just talk about just geeking out about Nintendo things and just stuff to get excited about. And like seeing kind of how off the wall we were about that, we get to talk to some of the other folks that were at the front of the line. That's like the only time that I've been like at the front of the line for something. And you're talking on a fanatical level in some cases about the thing that you're trying to get. So it's not like that middle part where it's like a meta commentary on how early must the front of the line have gotten here to do this? They can't like it that much. And the back of the line being like, well, this wasn't worth it and blah, blah, blah. And gosh, I just kind of want to see if I can get it, or I'm trying to return something. And then you get the front of the line, which is like the diehards. If you are a fan, like a fanboy, fangirl of anything, like that front of the line is like your best friends for a little bit of time. It's like they are that invested. They would spend the night outside of a store in like, I don't know, say the middle of winter, but still very cold, below freezing temperatures, waiting for a new console to launch. And you're basically awake the whole time. You're not sleeping. And we have people who like, we just have like the best parents. Like they brought us like cases of White Castles, and in the morning like coffee and donuts. Like we were sharing with the people around us. We're like, hope you don't mind. Like, I know you got this for us, but like the people around us are pretty cool too. And it's just nice being able to spread that kind of joy. It's not always there in the lines, but it's kind of nice when that happens. And it's good being the reason why it's nice for other people who are there. Because like in retrospect, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be in line that long waiting for the thing they want. They want to just get it and enjoy it. And it doesn't really matter kind of where you are in that line. You all kind of want it, just at varying levels. Whether you're like, I need to get this, I definitely really want this, or I want it, but it doesn't matter if I get it today. And you can kind of see that spectrum as it goes like to the back of the line. It's kind of interesting. If you haven't done it before, and that sounds interesting to you, kind of think about it. It's nothing I particularly would want to do at this time anymore. It's just, it always feels like the things I'm interested in like come out around winter, like fall, winter, early spring, and those months are brutal where I'm at. So it's like if you don't have good cold weather clothes, it can be a mess. It can be a mess. It's so cold, especially if you're doing something like being there overnight for like the first couple hours before opening. Sure, that's not as big a deal. It's kind of what the amiibos were. But yeah, like it's an interesting thing. You're being surrounded by people in a way. These are your people. this is your crowd. Like these are the people who are big enough fans of the thing that you share an interest in, that you could have a conversation with. You know exactly what to have a conversation about. You don't have to be afraid of it. It's so totally different than going to like a party or something where it's just like, yeah, it's just a bunch of friends getting together or friends of friends, and you were invited and you go there and it's like, I don't even know if this is like a space where I can talk about the things I'm into. But that line culture, that group has at least one thing in common with you, to the point where they will wait a potentially obscene amount of time in a line to get that thing and enjoy it. So if you ever want to, shouldn't say like that's like the one thing you could do, but you could certainly meet some interesting people, hopefully interesting people, make some good conversation. Who knows? Maybe you can spark a friendship. Hasn't happened for me in a line, but it's a lot easier than talking about stuff like when you're waiting for like a roller coaster or a water slide. It's like, okay, we like roller coasters. This one in particular, maybe. But with the other one, it's like, you're going to ride that for a couple seconds and be like, okay, cool. And you're waiting there for a long time. But for this one, it's like a franchise or a thing. It's a culture in and of itself. There's so much you can talk about depending on what you're waiting for. And it's just like, if you're into GPUs, you're talking about computer stuff. If you're into like a new game console, you're talking about that game console. Or for a game in particular, you could be talking about that franchise. And there's a lot they can spin off of that. I don't know. It's kind of interesting that even the culture has a culture. It's just a bit of a meta culture within that larger culture of people, that fandom. So, yeah, I think that's probably enough there. Again, if you like to go talk with people who you know are going to be interested in at least one thing that you're super interested in, waiting in line for it to release is probably a decent spot to try it. And if not, then you could probably just order online or wait until the hype dies down a little and be able to talk about it afterwards. You don't have to be there on day one to get it, but it is certainly an experience. And with that, I think we'll call it there. Try and do another one of these tomorrow. Still debating whether or not I'll do these Thursday and Friday this week. Maybe I'll do another one just talking about baking for Thursday, since I got a fair bit of stuff to make. I'm thinking peanut butter cookies, brownies, and peanut butter balls. Depending on where you're at, they're called Buckeyes. I call them peanut butter balls. But yeah, we'll call it there. Hope you're having a wonderful day, a wonderful end of your day. Hopefully a wonderful tomorrow as well. And we'll catch you then. See ya.